All right, so you just saw me finish up those dumbbell rows. You know what that means? That means the compounds are done for the day. It's always a good feeling to get those compounds out of the way. Now, I mentioned earlier in the intro, I mentioned exercise changes. I wanted to do today's training chat on a couple of rules that I like to follow when considering and making exercise changes. First off, this isn't really a rule because it is individualized. It applies differently to people with different personalities, like people that need more change to stay mentally engaged in their programming versus people that can be more repetitive with their programming and still stay mentally engaged. There's different personalities. We all know it. So you're going to change your exercises, when you feel it's right for you. I would encourage you to at least let your exercises run for 8 weeks, though. Even if you're one of those people that needs a lot of change often, still try to push for that 8 weeks. I believe that's important. I believe there is something to that. It seems like a sweet spot to me, and to me it's the minimum that you should hold an exercise. But when it comes time to make your exercises, 2 main rules that I want to talk about today. So number 1, unless you're undergoing drastic changes in your programming and you're seriously overhauling it, like changing up the split, just changing up the entire layout, you want to try to make your exercises, your new exercises, you want to make them target the same muscle groups as the current exercise. So if you're replacing a shoulder press like I did today, I replaced a barbell overhead press, shoulder dominant, and I replaced that with another shoulder dominant press, another compound press. And that's because I'm following this first rule. I did not want to change the focus of today's core lift. Why would I want to do that? I'm not changing the layout of the program. I'm not actually changing the program itself. It's still GST size. It's just entering a new phase 2, and following the manual and the book, they're the same thing. Following the book, this is a time where you can look at your program, check it out, go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and potentially make changes. So I made a couple today. And I replaced a compound shoulder targeting press with another compound shoulder targeting press, because that's the rule. That is the first rule that I'm talking about here. Same goes for any other lift. Unless you're changing your programming or completely changing your layout, the next exercise that you choose, it should target the same muscle groups as the exercise that you're replacing. Okay, that's an easy rule, right? I mean, it's kind of common sense, kind of logic. Number two is the same. To me, it's common sense and it's logical. You're going to replace a compound lift with another compound lift, and you're going to replace an isolation lift with another isolation lift. This keeps the general flow of your programming the same, and it also makes sure that you don't slowly remove compounds from your programming, because your programming is going to start with compounds, no question about it. That is how GST size is laid out. It's compound focused first, isolation second. Compounds primary, isolation secondary. So you can't go without compounds with this programming, and that's why I made this rule number 2, because if you're going to replace a compound lift, which is going to happen, you are going to do that. You need to make sure that you replace it with another compound to maintain that primary focus on compound lifts. So compound lifts, exercises that work more than one muscle group, like any press, any pull, any lower body squatting movement, leg press movement, deadlift, things like that. Just think the big lifts that work so many muscle groups at the same time, and they work those muscle groups hard. It's not like they just work one and then barely work another. They work multiple muscle groups intently. So maintain the compound focus of GST size by always replacing a compound with a compound. And then it's always fun to do isolations, like to really dial in and just feel like, damn, man, I am just like building my bicep right now, or I am hitting my quads hard, and that's all I'm hitting. It's just like this primary focus, this zoning in, applying the stimulus to grow right to that muscle group. That's important. That's an important part of programming also. And that's why there's isolation lifts in GST size. There's always going to be isolation lifts in this program. And you want to maintain the focus on them. So when you replace one isolation exercise, you replace it with another one, because you don't want to lose the benefits of isolation exercises, just like I refuse to let you lose the benefits of compound exercises. So those are the two rules that I really apply to myself, that I've implemented into this program, and that I want you to apply to yourself as well. Actually, no matter what program you're following, I think it's important, but especially this one, compound for compound, isolation for isolation. Okay, my compounds are done. I'm on to the isolations. It's bicep focus time, it's tricep focus time, and it's shoulder focus time. Let me get to that. Thanks for listening to me. I hope you learned something new today. If you did, tell me about it. Comment. Talk to you soon.